Hello everyone. So in today's lecture, we'll be covering the Unit 4 of Western Political Thinkers, where we talk about Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. We'll most precisely be talking about his idea of dialectics. During the course of this lecture, you'd be able to understand his life and works and also understand his basic concept of idea of dialectics. By the end of the lecture, you will be able to acquaint yourself briefly with the man and his times and his prominent works. Also, you will have a brief idea about what is Hegelian dialectics with certain examples. Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel was an eminent German philosopher and one of the chief proponents of idealism. Hegel was a brilliant student, and at school he excelled and won a scholarship to a reputed seminary at Tübingen in 1788, where he studied philosophy and theology. After completing his studies, he accepted the position of a family tutor and followed similar positions from 1793 to 1800. His philosophical speculations started beginning from this time. In 1799, his father passed away and he inherited certain amount of money which he thought was sufficient. Therefore, he goes on to give up the job of private tutor. In August 1801, he was appointed as a private lecturer at the University of Jena and began lecturing on logic and metaphysics. As a lecturer, he earned wide reputation, and in 1805, because of which he was given the post of professor, which was highly coveted in those days. His well known Phenomenology of Mind appeared in 1807. His longest work has been Science of Logic, which came out in three volumes, the first one appearing in 1812, followed by 1813, and then 1816. By this time, he had become quite well known, and in 1816, he was finally invited to take up the post of professor of philosophy at the University of Heidelberg. Here he goes on to write his Encyclopedia of Philosophical Sciences. By this time, Hegel has now become very renowned, and therefore, we see the Prussian Minister of Education offering him the prestigious chair of philosophy at the University of Berlin. Berlin was considered to be the intellectual center of Germany, and Hegel accepted this offer and taught at Berlin from 1818 till his death in 1831. This period was the most eventful in his life. He wrote his most famous work, Philosophy of Right, in 1821, and lectured on the philosophy of history, religion, aesthetics, and the history of philosophy. Some of the other Hegel's well known works include lectures on the philosophy of history, lecture on aesthetics, lecture on the philosophy of religion, and lectures on history of philosophy. Hegel's writings show that several philosophers and thinkers of the past immensely influenced him. He borrowed many of his ideas from Plato, from Socrates, Aristotle, Kant, and Rousseau. He used them to evolve his own philosophy. Therefore, he assimilated their ideas in his logic system. Two major events which go on to have a very considerable influence on Hegel were the French Revolution in 1789 and the subjugation of Germany by Napoleon in the beginning of the 19th century. His idea of dialectics, therefore, mostly rests on the dialectical method, which was borrowed from Socrates, who is considered as the first exponent of this method. So, the term dialectic or dialectical is derived from Greek origin, which refers to the method of investigation through the art of disputation, that is, by the process of arguments and counter arguments. Dialectics is a discourse between two or more people holding different points of view about a subject but wishing to establish the truth through reasoned methods of argumentation. His entire method of dialectics is also termed as dialectical idealism because there are 3 points that he lays out. One, idea, which is considered to be spirit or consciousness, is the basic substance of universe, under which he's trying to include the physical objects as well as the social and political institutions. It is the driving force behind all historical development. Each social institution represents the manifestation of prevailing form of idea at a particular historical point. Idea is endowed with the capacity and tendency of development. He goes on to say that idea is continuously moving in a dialectical path. That is, that you have an initial idea. That initial idea is then confronted by its contradictory form, and this confrontation is basically resulting in the destruction of the false paths or the paths which are not truth, which are not true. So, this integration of the tenable path and the process which goes on repeating itself till it reaches the stage of absolute truth. So, the first initial idea he considers to be thesis, followed by the contradictory idea which he considers and he says as antithesis, which results in the amalgamation of these two to result in synthesis. Now, this synthesis, because it is not entirely true and because there is something more that could be added to it, because the historical process is continuously going on, so we see this synthesis taking the place of new thesis followed by another contradictory antithesis to it, and again the same process goes on and continues. So, an idea moves from thesis to antithesis until a synthesis of the two is found. Synthesis has in its elements of thesis as well as antithesis. So, synthesis is basically a combination of these two things, one idea and the contradictory idea. That is why it has elements of both these ideas. In due course, the synthesis itself goes on to acquire the status of a thesis and gives rise to its own antithesis. And this process goes on. So, in practice, Hegel goes on to apply this dialectical method to various domains of his ideas. Therefore, his method may be described as dialectical idealism. It means that every idea gives rise to a counter idea, and the original idea with the counter idea merge and give rise to new ideas. As we saw initially in the previous slide, that he goes on to say that idea has its own consciousness and idea has a tendency to develop. So we see that all these ideas, whether it's an initial one or whether it is the contradictory one, both of them are basically giving rise to a new idea, which is continuously developing and continuously moving forward. So this initial idea or proposition or thesis does not represent the absolute truth. So your thesis, your first idea is not the entire truth. There is something more to it, and that something more comes out in its counter proposition, which is called as the antithesis. So, though it is the opposite, it leads to negation of the thesis too. When thesis and antithesis clash with one another, they tend to destroy each other's untrue elements. So, whatever is not true will get destroyed because the true elements can never be destroyed, according to Hegel. The resultant proposition, which is the synthesis, it embodies the residual elements both of thesis and antithesis and is relatively free from untrue elements of the two. So that means that synthesis is now much nearer to the truth or much nearer to the idea of absolute or perfection as compared to thesis or antithesis. But the synthesis so evolved may still not be the complete truth. It therefore takes the position of new thesis and undergoes the same process clash with antithesis and emergence of a new synthesis. This process of negation keeps continuing till it finally reaches the idea of absolute, which is free from any further contradictions. He goes on to use his dialectical methods by highlighting when he's talking about his theory of state, where he goes on to say that family is the thesis, followed by your civil society, which comes as in the contradictory form, which is the antithesis, which results in the state, which is the synthesis of the two. Similarly, he goes on to talk about despotism as thesis, democracy as its antithesis, and the best system, that is synthesis, that is your constitutional monarchy. Another example that he cites is inorganic world, which is thesis, organic world, which is its antithesis, and the synthesis of the two results in the human beings. So these were predominantly the examples that he goes on to cite to associate with his dialectical method. For any further references on this particular topic, you may refer to Sushila Ramaswamy or Subrata Mukherjee's History of Political Thought, or else even Shefali Jha's Western Political Thought from Plato to Marx. Thank you.